FBLA after graduating, so my very first internship was actually with FBLA, and then as he shared, I actually went on to join the executive board, so I sit on the board for the state of Washington of FBLA. So as you can tell from that, I'm definitely very involved in FBLA and I'm passionate about it myself, which is why I'm here today. And so before I get started on my story that I want to share, I want to ask you guys some questions. So if you guys are open to that, I'm going to ask a few questions to you all. So my first question is, how many of you have ever been really, really, really nervous about doing something? Just very nervous. Anybody is willing to admit that? Okay. And now how many of you have been really, really nervous about doing something, but went ahead and did it anyway, and then felt proud of yourself for doing it? Okay, so most of you guys answered yes. And even if you have answered no, or if you don't feel that way, I think this story can still speak to you a little bit. So I want to share a time that I was really, really, really nervous, and I went through and did something anyway, and then was proud of myself. So the time that I want to share with you is about 2007, and Mr. Ridden may correct me on my facts because I think he knows. I think he knows this story even better than I do. So 2007, I was 17, and I was told that I should compete in what is probably one of the scariest events in FBLA. Well, now it was at the time. Probably one of the scariest events, which was public speaking. So I was really, 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 really nervous about competing in this event. And before I had even tried to prepare my speech, I had no formal training in public speaking. I had no experience in really competitive events at all. I was not a sports player. I did not necessarily compete in a lot of things. So when Mr. Reardon said, you should compete in public speaking, I was really, really, really nervous. And I thought he was crazy. I thought it was crazy for me to do something like that. So fast forward, as he shared, I actually made it to state. And I remember standing outside of the judging room when I had made it to state and being very, very nervous. At that point, I was thinking, was I crazy for agreeing to do this? How did I make it this far? And it was just a very nerve-wracking experience for me. But I want to share this experience because this is probably one of the most pivotal points for me in my young professional life as a whole. So I think after this experience, I really just grew into my own skills and my talents, and if it wasn't for this opportunity, I don't think I really would have done so early on. So I'm standing outside of the judging room. I was told that the people that were inside of the judging room were very, very talented speakers and judges. So by that point, I'm really nervous. I'm thinking, I'm looking to Mr. Reardon, like, why did I agree to do this? What am I doing here? And it was just a lot of emotion. And I remember having a lot of support from my chapter members. So all of you are currently in FBLA, so I'm sure you have experienced the relationships that you can create in this organization and within your chapter. So I had some really supportive chapter members. Mr. Reardon was there with me, and I remember him just giving me some really encouraging words at the time that I needed to hear them, and reminding me that I wasn't crazy for doing something like this, reminding me that it was okay, that I was here, I had worked hard to be here. Anyway, I went into the judging room, and if I'm honest, I don't think I remember a thing that happened within that room. I just remember that when I walked out of that room, I was still a bit nervous, and I was shaking, and it was very emotional, but I was proud of myself. I was so proud of myself because I knew how difficult that was for me to do. And before when I walked out of that room, I had no idea whether or not I had placed. I had no idea whether or not I had said my speech correctly, whether or not I had fumbled on any words. Like I said, the experience was a blur. But when I walked out of that room, all I knew is that I had done something that made me really, really nervous. I went in and I did it, and I was still alive. So I had walked out of that experience, and I still was able to say that I had done it. So at that point, that's all I needed, right? I just thought, okay, whether or not I place, whether or not I go any more forward in public speaking, I had done it. So, but just as FBLA is, that's not where it stops within FBLA. So what happened to me is actually a unique experience. Like I said, when I left that room, I was just excited that I had done it. I came to find out that I actually placed at the competition. I placed 4th in the state of Washington. So that was our 4th at, yeah, it was 4th in the state of Washington. So again, that's amazing for someone who had no training, who's very nervous, something that before Mr. Reardon had mentioned it to me, I would have never thought about doing. And I was on the bus, getting ready to leave, and someone came running up to the bus that I recognized. It was the judge at the competition. It was the judge that I was told was one of the most talented public speakers within the organization. He had all of these accolades and was very highly sought after. He came up to the bus looking for me. And again, this is me, 17 years old. I never having competed. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, they're coming to take away my award. Maybe they made a mistake because I had never done this before. He came up to me and he said, "You placed fourth, but if you allow me to help you and to train you, I know that you can make it to nationals in public speaking." And I remember being amazed, shocked, in awe, because again, this is a 17-year-old me with no experience in public speaking. And like I said, I was just so excited to have competed. And so when he told me that, it was a pivotal point for me. It was something that I had never thought that I could do, let alone do well at. And so even his words, him doing that, was something that really helped me to define what my talents are. So fast forward, I did go on to nationals. I did place top 10 in nationals. I went on my very first airplane ride, so I went to Atlanta, Georgia for nationals. I actually ended up going to business school in Atlanta after that, so when I went to undergrad. And I had an amazing experience there. But none of that would have been possible had I not been in an organization like FBLA that gave me the opportunity to do that. So I share that story because that's the type of experience that you can have in FBLA, and if you haven't already, it's just waiting on you, because that's the type of experience that you can have if you push yourself to go beyond your limits, beyond what's comfortable for you. I know that in this organization, there are going to be many opportunities for you to kind of sit on the sidelines and say, okay, I could compete in that event, or I could try to do this, but I'm just going to kind of sit back and watch. You could do that, or you can kind of take a step forward and know that, just like me in my experience, if you go that step forward and you're really nervous and you're really insecure about whether or not you can do it, you will have your chapter backing you. You happen to have one of the best advisors, in my opinion, in FBLA, who will support you along the way. And that is something that's going to pay off in the future. So if we're talking about fast forwarding to now, I now get asked to speak at events in public speaking. I now, part of my job is actually to train people to be up on stages. And again, back to the 17-year-old who had no idea that she could speak at all, or that she had any talent in it. All of those skills that I developed in FBLA are ones that I'm using now. So definitely know that this is an organization where you can really get a head start on a lot of your peers. There aren't a lot of people that are in high school right now that are thinking about these sort of skills, but do know that you will have to use that in your future. So how many of you have a dream about what your dream job would be, or you have an idea of what it would be? Anybody? How many of you want to know what your dream job would be, or what have an idea? Awesome. So wherever you sit in that, getting involved in what FBLA has to offer is really going to help you define that. And I know that for a fact just because I now sit on the board of the state of Washington for FBLA, and I know that we have some amazing things that are coming down the pipeline. We're constantly changing the events that you guys are able to participate in so that they reflect what you're going to see in the business world or just in any sort of career that you want to pursue. So do know that whatever you do now, you're able to get a head start on what you can do for the future, and don't ever take for granted anything that you do that really sets you outside of your comfort zone. Like I said, at that point in the competition, when I went into the judging room, when I walked out of there, I had no idea whether or not I was going to place. I had no idea that they were going to come up to me afterwards and tell me that I could make it to nationals. But without any of that, at that point that I went outside of my comfort zone, I did something that made me nervous, that challenged me. When I came out of it on the other side, I had already developed some sort of skills that were going to move me forward. And so just know that whether or not you place or walk away with a plaque or perform better than anyone else, none of that necessarily matters. It's the fact that you set yourself outside of your comfort zone, that you start to build these skills really early on. And so I definitely wanted to share that story and just encourage you all. Whatever you're interested in, And again, it could be anything from, going into business, going into something that's completely outside of the business realm, starting your own business, whatever it is. There are some really great opportunities within FBLA for you to really develop those skills and to really just, like I said, push yourself outside of your comfort zone and get a head start on figuring out and developing the skills that you want to have for the future. So I definitely wanted to come here and just share that story, share that experience, and just encourage you guys to really get the most out of FBLA. It sounds like most of you all are already in FBLA, and so kudos to you for being in it already. And the others of you that are considering or prospective members, definitely, I would encourage you to definitely take that step forward and to be a part of it. It's going to be something that you're going to look back on and have great memories of. I actually recently reconnected with one of my chapter members from high school, and she's living in this really posh Seattle apartment now, and it's very beautiful. She's really successful. She's got a lot going on, and I looked at the corner of her room, or in her living room actually, and she had 2 of her FBLA plaques up on the wall. And I think she's working for Microsoft now. She had her 2 FBLA plaques on the wall, and I said, "You still have those?" And she said, "Yeah, that was the first time I ever got an award that had a plaque with my name on it, and I never forgot it." So that's the type of experience that you'll have. That's the type of thing that you're going to be able to walk away with. And whether or not you have a plaque, whether it's just even a certificate, it will make an impact, and it will be something that you remember and that will follow with you. And there are not a lot of organizations in high school that you can be a part of that will have that effect on you. So I definitely recommend that you get involved, and I'm excited to be able to talk to you today. I would love to stay connected. Mr. Reardon has my information, so the more that I can be involved with what you all are doing and help in any way, I definitely would like to. So that's my experience. So I wanted to open it up if you guys are brave enough to ask questions. If not, I wanted to leave my contact information for any of you guys to get a hold of me. If you are brave enough to compete in any of the events and you need some help, I would love to be able to help you all. So that's it. So any questions? Anybody brave enough? Yeah.
Is public speaking a tough competition? Is there a lot of competition in public speaking?
So I can't speak to it now in terms of how many competitors there are. I think it's tough in that, I'm pretty sure, I don't know the statistics, but I think that public speaking is one of the at least top 3 greatest fears of all of Americans. I think that's probably one of the scariest things for most people to do. So in that way, it's tough. I don't know in terms of competitiveness how many people actually compete. I'm not sure, but I do know I did get a chance to go back and judge public speaking, and I will say there are some really great speakers that come through, but I think a lot of them are just like me. It's people that just really put their all into it, and they have a lot of support from people who help them craft their speeches. I think for anybody that wants to compete in public speaking within FBLA, as long as you have a topic that you really believe in and that you're really passionate in, I think anybody can really can competitively enter the event, because to me it's all about what you say, and how you say it. You can get coaching on that, you can get help with that, but I think that's the biggest thing. So, yeah. Anybody else? Has anybody in this room competed in anything? Are we at that level?
How many of you competed last year that are here? 3 hands, alright.
And what did you guys compete in?
Did a job interview and introduction to business, and I think those were like my 2 major ones.
Okay.
I did business, math, economics, impromptu speaking, and graphic arts.
Impromptu speaking is a tough one. Yeah. What about you?
I did business math and social media campaign, and then business presentation.
Okay, awesome. See, yeah, so social media campaign is brand new for us. So when I was in FBLA, we didn't have that. It's exciting that we have that now, but that just goes to show FBLA changes things up, and they really try to reflect what you're going to be in the future. So for instance, social media, that's actually what I get paid to do right now. I'm a social media consultant. So that's important to have a skill like that. Like I said, whether or not you place or whatever wherever you go into competition, just getting those skills early on are really important. I know you mentioned job interview. Everybody should at least try to try it. If you don't want to compete in it, that's okay. But do know that you all in this room
I just want to add to your story. You were talking about your friend in Seattle,
Yes.
and her name is Phong
Yes.
Pham. She is a Vietnamese American,
Uh-huh.
and one of her awards you're talking about was in business ethics.
Mhm.
And it was a team of 3. Again, this is a little bit cultural here, but so you have Phong, who's a Vietnamese American, you have Alan Yu, who's a Chinese American, and then you have my daughter, who they figured kind of had almond eyes and maybe could pass for Asian American. Anyway, they called themselves jokingly Team Soy Sauce. That was their business ethics team, and they did really well, and they competed at state that event. So, yeah.
And so it's funny, and this actually just happened. I visited Seattle last weekend for actually an FBLA board meeting, and I got to catch up with her. And sure enough, I saw those plaques out. And for any of you, if you ever serve in any sort of leadership role within FBLA, I was the chapter president at the time that Phong was in it, and I remember kind of cheering Phong along to get into FBLA. So even for me as the chapter president, seeing that she still had the plaques up, it meant a lot. It meant something to me too, because I remember being over it, even helping to lead that chapter as well, and getting people pumped about it. So the fact that that's something that, amidst all her other fancy things and everything she had going on, she had her FBLA plaques fully displayed. That was, to me, that says a lot about the experience and what it means, what it can mean to you, and more than you probably think it would. Because I remember when Phong was preparing me for that, I don't think it was something that was very premeditated. Like I know I'm going to compete in business ethics. This is all I ever want to do. It absolutely was not that. I think I don't know the story there, but I think it was something that was sort of last minute, or sort of like, hey, I think we should do this or try this. But those are the best experiences, honestly. That was the same with me. I didn't look through all the events and say, oh, public speaking, that's the one. In fact, I think I didn't want to do that, and Mr. Ridden kind of nudged me to it. But so that's the type of experience you can have, and you will get challenged, and you will get pushed outside of your comfort zone. But do know that you will use those skills later on. They will serve you, and you will be a step ahead of your peers because of that. So, yeah. So, I think if there are no other questions.
Hey, how about preparing you for like college and career, just briefly, how that helped?
Yes. So, tremendously. So, I would say, so my first internship, I had an internship as a freshman, which is very rare, through FBLA. So, FBLA provided me with my first internship. My college admissions essays, I think most of them involved the story I just told to you today. That story, that was because it was such a pivotal point for me. I think that most of the information that I pulled and gathered together in a lot of my college admissions essays, scholarship essays, I'm actually the recipient of the Gates Millennium Foundation Scholarship, and so that's a full ride to undergrad and graduate school. And I remember including a lot of my FBLA experiences in my application for that scholarship. And so it absolutely made a difference, and I had so much to pull from, and that I can authentically speak to. When you're filling out your college applications, especially your personal statements, sometimes it can be nerve-wracking to really think about, like, who am I? What do I have to share? Or what makes me a good candidate for this college? FBLA provided me with those experiences where I could pull from those things and say, okay, yeah, actually I can get this full ride scholarship, or I can get into this great school because, hey, I went into public speaking and I placed, or hey, I did this, I remember this experience in FBLA where I took a leadership role and I proved myself. So absolutely tied in, and I think it, like I said, it just set the tone for what I would do after leaving FBLA. And actually, I don't even think I've left because I'm still involved. I'm really still involved. So absolutely tied in. Yeah.
Great.
Anything else? Any other questions? Is that the bell?
It's our 10-minute bell.
Oh, okay.
All right.